All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a pretty challenging theological argument today, one that really makes you rethink a core Christian practice. It's all about the difference between a sign and the real thing it points to. So this is our starting point. The posture of life is not drowning in the sign. That's a really powerful idea, and honestly, it's the key to this entire argument. It immediately gets you thinking, right? What happens when we get so focused on the symbol that we miss the point? When the sign becomes more important than the thing it's signifying.
So to unpack this, we've got to go way back, like back to the very beginning. The source we're looking at argues there's a kind of first grammar for spiritual life set up right in the book of Genesis.
You know, the whole argument really hinges on this one image from Genesis 1:2, the Spirit hovering above the waters. The source says this isn't just poetic language, it's a foundational principle. It establishes the proper posture of life. It's meant to be sovereign over the chaos that drowns you, not stuck down in it. That's the first grammar. So remember that, this whole idea of above versus below. It's going to be super important.
Okay, with that foundation in place, let's look at the main piece of evidence. We're going to see how this first grammar changes how we read a really well-known story.
So you probably know the story of the demoniac of Gerasa, right? Well, this analysis asks us to look at it in a totally different way. What if it's not just a healing story? What if it's actually more like a courtroom drama, a showdown between holiness and uncleanness?
And check out the language the Spirit uses. It doesn't ask for healing. Instead, it calls Jesus Son of the Most High God and begs him not to be tormented before the time. See, that's courtroom talk. It's basically saying, I know you have jurisdiction, and I know judgment is coming, just not yet. It's an appeal, not a request for a cure.
So this is the big moment, the fork in the road. Legion has two options. Option 1, submission. Just accept that it's over and be transformed. Option 2, relocation. Try to cut a deal, make a lateral move, and just keep existing somewhere else. And what does it choose? It negotiates. It asks to be relocated into a herd of pigs.
And what happens next is what this analysis calls the theological climax. The pigs, now carrying Legion, stampede down the hill and into the water. They drown. The point here is huge. The choice to relocate instead of transform leads directly to a downward rush and termination in the very water we started with. Okay, so that wild ending isn't just a one-off event. The argument is that it actually reveals a pattern, a kind of spiritual law. Let's break down this pattern. Step 1. Holiness confronts uncleanness. Step 2. Instead of submitting, the unclean thing tries to negotiate a lateral move. Step 3. It relocates, moving its old identity into a new host. But then, Step 4. A downward rush follows. And finally, Step 5. Termination. And notice, the water here isn't for cleansing. It's an endpoint, a full stop.
So what we have are two very different paths. Path 1 is submission. It looks like death, like being crucified with Christ, but it actually leads to new life. Path 2 is relocation. It looks like you're surviving, like Legion did for a moment, but it just leads to the termination you were trying to run from. It's a total paradox. What looks like death brings life, and what looks like life brings death.
So if that's the downward path, what's the opposite? Well, that's where the cross comes in.
And you can see the contrast right here. Legion's path is downward. It's all about avoiding the end. But the disciples' path, it's upward. It's about accepting the end of your old self so you can get something new. Total opposites. And here's the command straight from Jesus in Luke 9:23. Take up his cross daily. Think about that. The tool he gives for daily life isn't a cleansing ritual. It's an instrument of death, the cross. And that's the key. It's a daily thing. It's not a one-and-done event. It's this ongoing choice to say no to that easy way out, to refuse to just relocate your old self and its bad habits into some new form. So yeah, the disciples' path is the exact opposite of Legion's. Instead of rushing down to avoid an end, it's about choosing daily to go up and accept that end. Okay, so let's bring this all home. How does all of this, the Spirit above the water, Legion, the cross, how does it connect to water baptism?
Here's the core of the argument. If that internal death, that daily picking up of the cross, hasn't actually happened, then what is water baptism? According to this view, it becomes a form of spiritual relocation. It's a way to look like you've changed without actually going through the death of the old self. It's a substitute, not a sign. And this is where the analysis draws a really sharp line between John's baptism and Christ's baptism. John's was with water. It was external, temporary, a sign pointing to something coming. But Christ's baptism, that's with the Spirit. It's internal, it's permanent, and it's the real transformative thing itself.
And this quote just puts it as bluntly as possible. The command is not to get wet. The command is to die. It really gets to the heart of it, right? The focus isn't the external act, the sign. It's the internal reality, the substance.
Now, to be super clear, this argument isn't saying water baptism is bad or pointless, not at all. The point is about its role. In this view, it's not the gate to salvation, it's a powerful witness that salvation has already happened in the Spirit. It's a sign pointing to the real substance, which is the cross.
So when all is said and done, this whole analysis leaves us with a pretty big question. It forces us to look at our own rituals and ask, is the water the gate itself? Or is it a witness to a gate we've already walked through? Where does the real change happen? In the sign or in the substance? That's something to really think about.